Kintsugi is a vessel restoration technique that has been passed down in Japan for centuries. More than mere repair, kintsugi turns breaks into beauty, embodying a uniquely Japanese aesthetic sense. Cracked or chipped vessels are rejoined using lacquer, then finished with gold or silver powder. The damage becomes a form of decoration, giving the vessel its own individual presence. This way of thinking, highlighting the damage rather than hiding it, is connected to the spirit of wabi sabi. It strongly reflects a value system unique to Japan that respects the passage of time and the memories shared between the piece and the user. The most suitable kintsugi method is chosen based on the condition of the vessel. Rejoining breaks, filling in chips, stabilizing cracks. Each involves careful judgment and a delicate process. The gold lines applied in the finishing stage are not mere decoration. They shine as proof that the vessel has gained a new life. The restored vessel does not return to its original state, but is reborn as a one of a kind work of art that embraces its scars. Guiding us through the profound world of kintsugi is Matsumoto Kota, whose work is rooted in the traditional techniques of Kagawa lacquerware.
やっぱ金継ぎってこの
No
割れ
two
たもの
breaks
に
are the
対し
same.
て
Today
割れ
we'll
たも
take
の
a
っ
look
てい
at
うのは
several
多
vessels
分
and consider
それ
what
はね
kind of
全て
mending
の
each
人が
requires.
見て同じなんですけど
A break is the same break no matter who looks at it, but once you draw on the lacquer, the line becomes completely different depending on who paints it. This here is the plate with the sumetsuke, or the blue and white design. The break is simple and the plate is in 3 pieces. This is just the right level of difficulty for someone doing kintsugi for the first time. You can imagine how the gold lines will descend in the blue and white design. Next, this Unomi teacup. This also has a clean break, but some areas are uneven, so it will need to be repaired with care. It has a bold design with a cream interior and a deep brown exterior, so it might be fun to mend each side in a different colour. Here is a chip. Mugs are very popular with kintsugi, and this one has a chip on the rim near the handle. The glaze is unique, we don't want to change that, so I think making the repair a subtle accent would be nice. Instead of a gold, I want to try finish it with platinum. This is an Usuki-ware small plate. The surface is matte and white, so it's fairly high level of difficulty. We'll have to be careful when removing the excess lacquer, not to damage the vessel itself. It's many pieces and has a complex shape, so the finish is likely to have a different look on the front and back.
The MUSUBI Craft Kit contains all the basic tools you'll need for authentic kintsugi. You will also need to prepare these tools. They will be used during the repair work. The Kintsugi MUSUBI Craft Kit is an authentic kintsugi set. Because it contains raw lacquer, it needs to be handled with caution. Although this video shows our kintsugi expert working with bare hands, it is extremely important to wear disposable gloves. Avoid direct contact with your skin.
The repair process differs depending on the condition of the vessel. First, carefully check the condition of each vessel, then decide which steps to follow. This video will carefully explain the steps and the key points of each process. Before you begin, wash the vessel with a neutral detergent, then let it dry. Oil or dirt can prevent the lacquer from curing properly. First is the process of katame, or setting. Lacquer applied directly to the broken edges tends to not bond well to the base material and may peel off easily. To prevent this, katame lacquer is applied to the bonding surfaces in advance so that it soaks into the base material. Making katame lacquer is made by mixing raw lacquer and turpentine at a 1:1 ratio. Mix on top of the ceramic tile. Applying the katame lacquer, using the fine detail brush, apply the lacquer on the broken edges, making sure to only paint on the break itself and not on the surface of the item. Next, gently press a tissue or tissue paper to the coated edges to absorb excess lacquer. Continue blotting until the colour no longer transfers to the tissue. If excess lacquer remains, the bonding surfaces may not fit together properly, so carefully blot and wipe it off. Clean the lacquer off the ceramic tile after each use by thoroughly wiping it clean using the anhydrous ethanol. Curing the Katame lacquer. Once everything is nearly prepared, let the lacquer cure. Lacquer hardens under these conditions. Humidity of 70% or higher and the temperatures above 20 Celsius, 68 Fahrenheit. If the lacquer dries too quickly, shrinkage or wrapping can occur, so it is important to let it dry slowly over at least one full day. To stabilize the humidity and temperature, prepare the box with a lid. A wooden box retains a stable humidity and the temperature for longer, but plastic or cardboard boxes can also be used. To maintain the stable humidity and temperature, if using a wooden box, wipe the inside with a damp cloth. You can also place a tightly wrung cloth on the bottom of the box or under the lid. To maintain the correct temperature, placing the box in a room where people normally live is usually sufficient. If you have a thermometer and a hygrometer, placing them inside the box allows you to monitor the conditions frequently with peace of mind. Once the broken edges are prepared, we will fill in the missing areas. In this step, we create a base or foundation that fills in what's missing. To create the foundation, we will use Sabi lacquer. Sabi lacquer is made using tonoko powder, water and raw lacquer. Tonoko is a very fine clay powder. When kneaded with water, it develops a sticky consistency. For this type of chip, put about this much tonoko powder on the ceramic tile. Gradually add water, knead it together, and the correct ratio is roughly 2 parts tonoko to 1 part water. Knead it on the tile to mix. Be careful not to add too much water, as the mixture will become too soft. This is about the right firmness. Next, gradually add the raw lacquer and knead it in. The ratio is about 5 parts Sunoco and water-based to the 4 parts raw lacquer. Using the bamboo skewer, apply the Sabi lacquer to fill and shape the missing area. If the chip is large, it's best to apply a small amount. Let it dry and repeat several times. Applying too much at once can prevent the center from drying properly, causing it to swell and resulting in an uneven shape. Place the piece in a box with a lid, leave it at 20 Celsius, 68 Fahrenheit for at least 1 week. Because the Sabi lacquer contains moisture, additional humidity is not necessary. Once the Katame lacquer has cured, we can bond the broken pieces. First, we will prepare the Mugi lacquer, which acts as an adhesive. Mugi lacquer is made by kneading wheat flour with water, then mixing in raw lacquer. Put the wheat flour on the tile, gradually add water, kneading it with a spatula until it reaches about the firmness of an earlobe. Continue to knead using the spatula and the tile until you reach the correct consistency. Next, mix an equal amount of raw lacquer and knead it further. The target consistency is soft, stretchy caramel. The mixture should be firm enough that it doesn't break when lifted on the spatula. If it does not stick to the spatula, it's too hard, so add a little bit more lacquer. Use the spatula to apply a thin layer of the Mugi lacquer to the broken surfaces of the vessel. Let it sit for about 30 minutes to an hour. Next, press the pieces together to bond them. The Mugi lacquer needs to be partially dried and viscous for this. Otherwise, the broken pieces may shift out of position. While pressing the pieces together to bond them, use a cotton swab to swipe away any Mugi lacquer that oozes out. Reinforce with masking tape so the pieces don't shift. If the pieces bond misaligned at this stage, it cannot be corrected later, so proceed carefully. There's plenty of time before it fully dries, so move slowly, checking periodically to make sure nothing has shifted. Place it in a box with a lid and let it cure at around 20 Celsius, 68 Fahrenheit, for 1 week or more. Since Mugi lacquer contains moisture, humidity is not necessary. After curing, observe the condition. Remove any Mugi lacquer that oozes out. By removing the excess Mugi lacquer, the surface of the vessel becomes smooth and the lines become beautiful. Shave away the excess lacquer. Be careful not to damage the vessel surface. I use a knife or a chisel, but you can use any box cutter or utility knife if you have one on hand. After scraping once, fill in any remaining depressions with Sabi lacquer. If the break has bonded unevenly, use Sabi lacquer to shape the area and conceal the misalignment. Place it in a box with a lid and let it cure at 20 Celsius, 68 Fahrenheit, for about 1 full day or more. No humidity is needed at this stage. Once the Sabi lacquer has dried, shape it using a whetstone file. File as gently, without applying too much force. If you apply too much force, you may damage the vessel. Listen carefully to the sound. If you hear a grinding noise, you're sanding the vessel itself.
持っていただければっていうこんな感じで。
The kit includes 3 kinds of whetstone files. Choose the appropriate one for the shape of the vessel. For the flat surface like this plate, this flat file is ideal. For the curved areas like a teacup rim or a mug handle, a rounded file is easier to use. Next, we will apply another layer of Katame lacquer. Letting the Katame lacquer soak into the previous layer of the lacquer strengthens it. It will also improve the adhesion of the middle coat of the lacquer. Paint the Katame lacquer on the top of the previous coat of the lacquer, once in the box with a lid, and let it cure for about 1 day or more at 20 Celsius, 68 Fahrenheit, and 70% humidity. Note that the humidity is once again necessary at this stage. After that, use the Bengara lacquer to fill in the irregular or uneven areas left after the bonding. At this stage, try to make the lines as thin and as light as possible. The gold line painted later will have a thicker finish than this line. The time spent holding a brush, staring at a single broken point, I draw the line with such concentration that I almost stop breathing. In our everyday lives, we hardly ever spend time like this, do we?
ポイントになってきて。
I think Kintsugi is a time to get to know the vessel, and a time to encounter yourself.
はい。
Place the vessel again in a box with a lid and let it cure for about 1 day or more at 20 Celsius, 68 Fahrenheit, and 70% humidity. Now, from here, we will move on to the final process. You will apply the Bengara lacquer to the areas where you will sprinkle the gold powder. The Bengara lacquer will act as an adhesive for the powder. Bengara lacquer is a reddish-brown variety of coloured lacquer. It is made by kneading Bengara pigment into the transparent lacquer, which is refined from raw lacquer. Using the Bengara lacquer as an undercoat brings out the gold colour and allows it to shine beautifully. This is the wisdom passed down from our predecessors. Using the fine detail brush, slowly and carefully draw the line with an uneven thickness. This is the important final brushwork involving the lacquer. Any wavering or instability in the line of the lacquer will remain visible even after the gold is applied, so be mindful here to draw a clean, well-balanced line. If you bring out the character of the line at this stage, the Kintsugi will reflect your own style. The line here is a bit wobbly and complicated. I'd like to adjust it slightly and refine it into a simpler line. A break is the same break no matter who looks at it, but once you draw on it with the lacquer, those lines become completely different depending on who paints them. That's the individuality of the Kintsugi. This is where the maker's intention and feelings appear most clearly. I like the balance where, within a line that's as simple as possible, there's just a little bit of complexity. Once the brushwork is finished, let it sit as it is for about 1 hour. If the Bangawa lacquer is not partially dried, it will be too soft and rubbing on the gold powder will cause smudging or distortion. By partially dyeing the lacquer, the gold powder will adhere only to the surface. Finally, we will sprinkle the gold powder. As the powder will fall when sprinkled, it is helpful to work over the tray. Be careful as it scatters easily. This time we will use the imitation gold powder. This powder is made of brass. It has long been used as a replacement for the gold because its shine is close to real gold. Lift the imitation gold powder with a brush and gently sprinkle it over the Bangawa lacquer. Picture using the tip of the brush to lightly pile it up along the line of the Bangawa lacquer. Next, we will use the mawata, or silk floss, included in the kit. Silk floss is made up of long, single fibres and produces very little lint, which is why many maquille artists use silk floss. When you want to make the silk floss smaller, do not use a blade or scissors. Instead, gently tear at it by hand, so it is not to cut the fibres. Make it as manageable size like this, then gently rub it over the gold as if polishing. Leave it for at least 1 day under the conditions of 20 Celsius, 68 Fahrenheit and 70% humidity. After curing, use a neutral detergent to wash off any imitation gold powder, adhering to the surrounding areas. I've repaired many vessels over the years, and I always think the same thing. A vessel exists together with a person's memories and time. Do you throw it away because it's broken, or do you reconnect with it and give it a new life? I think Kintsugi lies beyond that choice. By deliberately adding decoration to the broken parts, you make the vessel more interesting than before. You're able to turn something damaged into a work of art. That may be the greatest appeal of Kintsugi. The way something breaks, the way it gets damaged, everything is a once-in-a-lifetime encounter. You layer your own line over it. In a space of freedom, you find your own line. When you can do that, Kintsugi becomes even more enjoyable, I think. Please take the time to get to know your own vessel too. Beyond repair, the experience of bringing something back to life with your own hands.
Thank you for watching. For a deeper look at the culture of Kintsugi, you can find out more on the Musubi KILN Journal. And follow our channel to receive the next story of craft. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.